Well, you know, sometimes the hardest part of a story is understanding where it engages or interacts with other people. The hardest part of telling your story is asking yourself, why does it matter to somebody else? What is it about your story that other people care about? Well, today we have a phenomenal interview guest in the studio, and we're going to talk about the lives of stories that have interacted, intertwined, crossed over, that have been generational impacts. Some of them that may have had no other generations at all, if not for this intersection. You definitely want to hear this interview, so stay tuned. I'm J Loren Norris with Storypower TV, and we have a guest in studio today who has been engaged in this process of finding people whose lives are, well, maybe hanging in the balance of making a decision, or maybe hanging in the balance of a decision already made. And they found themselves at a crisis point where if they don't get help like right now, life could be completely different. And she has taken the time to get involved in people's lives right there at that intersection. Not just she, but an entire organization. As the executive director of Ruth's Place, Kristin has spent an unbelievable amount of time and heart and emotion and investment in the lives of people who are in desperate need just to move forward with tomorrow. Kristin, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Yeah,
so tell me how you first got involved in Ruth's Place, but you have to answer the quintessential question of the show first.
Okay.
Who is Jesus to you, and why should I care?
Well, Jesus is an inspiration and a role model. So I try to teach my kids to treat everyone with respect and kindness, and do unto others as you would have others do unto you.
Very good.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved with Ruth's Place?
I formerly worked for the TCU School of Medicine, where I worked with Dr. Bennell, one of the founding doctors of Ruth's Place. Mm-hmm. And he did a lunch and learn one day and told us about all of the great ministries that he does, and going to Africa, going to Haiti, and then also locally here in Granbury at Ruth's Place. So I moved on in my career, and it was not a fulfilling job for me. It was something that, you know, I thought I can do more. I want to help people, not just necessarily solve problems, but I want to actually make an impact in people's lives. So at that point, I started looking for different jobs, and Ruth's Place had an opening, so here I am.
And what is it that you personally do at Ruth's Place?
I'm the executive director, chief problem solver.
Which means sometimes you're taking out the trash, sometimes mopping the
Correct.
floors.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, replacing an air conditioner right before I came here. Yeah.
And how long have you been at Ruth's Place?
Just over a year.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How radical was the transition from your previous line of work, your previous role, to what you're doing now?
So the role just before this, very radical. I was in data management for an airline catering company. But that was not in line with my personal goals and my degree. Okay. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to kind of switch gears and come back to what I was passionate about.
So when you walked into Ruth's Place the first time, mm-hmm. Tell me what your very first impression was, not just of the facility, but of the atmosphere, of the nature of the people who are coming mm-hmm. as clients, and the nature of people who are working there.
Well, the people that work there are amazing. Everyone actually cares, and that's something that I try to make sure every day that we remember. Some of our patients are having the worst day of their life. They may be facing eviction, bad news in their doctor's appointment, so it's very important for me to instill you treat people with respect regardless of their income status. And I was very impressed that that was happening as soon as I walked in the door. I just try to remind people, you know, why we're here, why we do what we do.
So it's not about stature, it's not about status, it's not about relationships or titles, whether they've got millions in the bank or none in the bank. If they need help, they need help. They're still human.
Exactly. And we don't know, when someone walks in the front door, they may be a donor or they may be a patient. And we have to treat everyone the same.
Right. So what has been the hardest relational encounter that you've had, whether it's a patient or it's a donor or it's just the general public? What has been the hardest relational encounter that you've had where you had to just really take a deep breath and go, I'm a believer and we're going to get through this?
Sure. So, like I was saying earlier, you don't know what's going on in the patient's life. We did have an instance where a patient was annoying another patient in the waiting room, and it kind of turned into a little bit of a heated discussion. And so, that was a great opportunity for me to remind the staff, we don't know what's going on. We've got to keep our composure and make sure that both of those patients still feel respected, have their dignity, and know that we're here to help them. So definitely every day I think we have to take a deep breath and say, this is for a higher purpose. We are trying to change people's lives, give them the confidence, the good health to continue their lives in a productive way.
What is the most common reason people come to see you?
Well, we have 3 different aspects. So we have the medical clinic, an outreach center, and a food pantry. I would say the medical clinic obviously has the most use in the community, or the most people that come to us. Our food pantry, we're serving about 75 people per week.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's once a
week.
week.
Is that the same 75 people every week?
No, not the same. So we have almost 200 families registered to receive food.
Wow.
But every week we're serving about 75 of those 200. And it varies. Some people come once a month, some people come every week, some every other week. Depends on their work or relationship status, transportation status, if they can get there to pick up the food. And then we have our outreach center, where we have after-school literacy program. So kids that are struggling with reading come to us after school for 2 hours. They get a snack, a little free time, and then some intentional reading help.
Okay.
So we've got a lot going on.
So of those 200 that come, what percentage would you say is that of the people in need in Hood County?
Oh gosh, that's a very interesting question. I don't know the actual percentage.
Because Hood County is like 70,000 people, right?
I believe so.
10,000 to 12,000 in Granbury, depending on which sign you're reading.
Right.
So if you're looking at a community and you're serving 200, I mean, that's still a large number, but that's 2%
right
of the whole county.
That's
Actually,
correct.
it's 1/10 of 2%.
Yeah. So our main focus is the Oak Trail Shores community with our food pantry.
Okay.
And from the research that I've done, Oak Trail Shores is one, I think, in the top 80% on the lowest income communities in the United States.
Wow.
So, I mean...
And that's about 3,500 people just in that one community. And it's technically not even in Granbury, in the city limits.
No, it's not in the city limits. Yeah,
but
it's
it is in Hood County. Okay.
Yeah.
And so when people come to the medical clinic, what are they coming there for?
To the medical clinic, we get all kinds of issues. So I would say the most, the highest diagnosis would be diabetes, and then hypertension, high cholesterol, and then we also have people that, unfortunately, we can help them figure out what's going on with their body, but we can't necessarily take the next step. So we've had a couple of people with cancer diagnosis, cardiac issues that we can't do anything about. Lots of different things. We had one patient diagnosed with ALS, and those are just things that we can't help with in our small clinic.
And do they come to you because they're in financial need? Okay, and so then the next step for someone like that is, do you refer them out to a hospital or to another medical? Do you have doctors who will assist with them on the financial side of that, or how does that work?
It depends. It depends on the situation. Sometimes people can be referred to the hospital's indigent program, and they can help, but there's a cap on that, so it depends on what they're going through and their income status. We help anyone in Hood County that does not have medical insurance. So, we see a lot of patients, but once we figure out what's going on with them, we're a little limited on our partnerships right now with other providers. So that's one thing that I've been working on, is creating like a patient assistance program so that we can refer our patients to outside providers. Just asking other providers if they can see one patient per month or one patient per week. Can they come to our office? Can we send patients to them? Trying to find some specialists and outside resources for our patients that we're kind of at a standing point with.
And I think the last time I visited, it was actually for an expansion of the office. Mm-hmm. And it was in the area where there were a lot of baby clothes.
Right.
What's that all about?
So we do, those probably our food pantry. So we have the food pantry, and then we also have donated items that we just give away for free.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so anybody now, do people have to apply to qualify to come and get stuff from you, or?
Well, it depends. So at the medical clinic, we do have an application. Like I said, you must be a Hood County resident mm-hmm. with no health insurance.
Okay.
And then for the food pantry, we receive our food through the Tarrant Area Food Bank.
Okay.
And there is an application for that. We don't turn people away. So everyone that shows up gets food. And then with our outreach, it depends on the program. The reading program, we work with Bacchus Elementary School here in Granbury.
Okay.
And they refer students to us. So students that live in the OTS community and are struggling with reading, they refer to us.
Okay.
So it's different at each of our locations in each program.
Now, you've got a location in OTS.
Correct.
Where are the other locations?
So the food pantry and the outreach center are in the OTS community on Maplewood Street. Okay. And then our clinic is here in town on Crawford Street.
Okay.
So we're just one block off 377.
Now, when you think of all of the things that you impact, how many people does Ruth's Place serve through the course of a year?
Well, I can tell you that so far this year, the first 6 months of the year, we had 1,006 patient encounters.
Wow.
So some of those are repeat patients. Some people come once every 3 months, some come, once every 3 weeks. But we have had 1,006 patient encounters, which is a 23% increase over 2023 mid-year statistics.
Why do you think that is?
Well, a couple of reasons. We are reaching a lot more people now that, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but Ruth's Place was without an executive director for over a year. And so me being out in the community, spreading the word, telling people what we're doing, talking about it, I think has raised more awareness to the people that also need our help, right. Not just donors and businesses. Also, the emergency pandemic Medicaid coverage ended in August of last year. And so we've seen a huge increase of new patients since August of last year.
And are they all the same kind of need, or are they all over the board? Like you said, there are some with diabetes and
yeah, all over the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
How far outside the Granbury local area, how far in Hood County do they travel?
All over. Yeah, we have all over. And sometimes, unfortunately, we do have people from outside of the county that would like to be a patient, but at this time, we only see Hood County patients.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the age range?
All ages. We
From
see
kids all the way to seniors.
Yep. We see
Wow.
babies all the way to seniors. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how working in this organization has impacted your faith relationship. Has it been challenging? Have you seen it grow? Has it made you kind of step back and go, as a mom, I'm glad that, or I wish that?
Oh, absolutely. I just had a conversation with my kids this weekend about being thankful for the things that we have. I love to take my kids to the outreach center to interact with the families there to serve. I think it's very important for them to understand, there are kids that, can't just go to Walmart and buy a new toy or buy a new book or buy a new pair of shoes. It's important for them to understand there are people that come from different walks of life. And just like I said, talking to employees, I try to teach my kids the same thing. Just be nice to everyone.
Right.
And I think, like I said in the beginning, that is an aspirational quality that you get from religion, right? Because that's what the Bible's all about, is helping people, finding your path in life, treating everyone with respect.
So has it impacted your own personal growth as well?
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And challenges you sometimes too?
Well, it's a lot of times challenging. Just seeing people suffering and not being able to help everyone, that's really hard. And, trying to figure out personally, what can I do, or what are my limitations, and just pray for everyone.
So tell me a little bit about, we've got about 5 minutes left. Tell me a little bit about your fundraising efforts. What kind of things do you do to raise money? If somebody wanted to support Ruth's Place, how would they go about doing that?
Sure. So our Facebook is a great landing spot. We have a couple of events every year. So we've got our casino night fundraiser coming up on September 12th. It's going to be lots of fun. We've got some fun activities planned.
And where are you doing that?
At the Granbury Conference Center.
Okay.
There will be poker, blackjack, craps, roulette, and then a couple of other things like a wine pool and some other games for people that don't necessarily do the gambling.
Okay.
We do still have tables available. That's a great way to contribute and also have a good time. And
what
then
does it cost to sponsor a table?
$1,500.
Now, when you say tables, this is like the dinner table, not
Yes.
not the poker table.
Not the poker table,
Okay.
correct. Yes, this is a table for 8 people to come to the event, have some hors d'oeuvres. We're doing heavy hors d'oeuvres, sliders, and things like that. And a drink ticket comes with that as well, plus advertising. So it's a good way to get your name out there.
And how many of those tables have you got left yet sold?
Oh gosh,
You've got about 30 days left.
Yeah, about 30 days. I think we probably have about 12 tables left.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've had pretty good representation so far.
We do, yeah. We have a really great relationship with the people in Hood County. We've been around since 2009, and a lot of our donors have been with us since then.
Wow.
So we've got a really great
And how many people
donor
usually
base.
attend this whole event?
Just under 200.
Wow, that's a pretty good showing.
Yeah.
And do you have someone speaking that night as well? Are you going to be speaking? Are you going to be talking to the crowd about what you do? Or
Yes.
do you have customers or patients who will be coming up? Or
No, I kind of struggle with having patients speak because, they may not
HIPAA
want to share
regulations, et cetera.
HIPAA, yeah, and they may not want to share what's going on with their life or their body. So I try to stay away from asking patients to share their stories, which we might do in the future, but it just has to be the right person, and you know when that person comes around. But we also have what's called the Handsome Hunks of Hood County.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah.
Or I've heard about it. I haven't participated. I'm not a hunk, but I've heard about the event. So tell us a little more about what the event is and how it works.
Sure. So that's coming up in February. I believe the 15th. I'm not 100% sure on that because it's still a ways away.
Valentine's Day.
Okay. Right after Valentine's Day. So we have 8 to 10 Hood County male representatives that they each have their own fundraiser leading up to the event.
Okay.
And so they can collect donations. The hunk that raises the most money on their own is crowned the People's Choice Award that night. The guys get together 5 or 6 times prior to the event and learn a group dance, and they perform that on stage. And then they each have 2 2-minute solo stage performances, I guess you can say. They can dance, they can sing. We had someone do stand-up comedy, just entertain the crowd for 2 minutes. And then we have judges, and whoever the judges pick as the hunk of the year, you know, gets a crown and a cape and a trophy.
And does this raise a lot of money?
It does. I think it was $104,000 last year.
Wow.
Or this year, 2024.
That's pretty significant.
It is.
And how does your casino night usually do?
Casino night was about half of that, but we did get a donor match last year, so we were just over $100,000 for that last year as well.
And if you were guessing, and I'm not asking for details that are not legal to share, but what does it take to do what Ruth's Place does all year long? What kind of operating budget is that with staff and volunteers and locations and transportation and food and healthcare and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I want to start off by saying that we spend almost $5,000 per month just on testing for patients. So whether that's lab testing, so blood test, specimen test, urine test, we outsource those. And then also x-rays, MRIs, we pay for a lot of those because our patients can't afford to do that. Right. And without that information, we can't give them a diagnosis. We can't help them without those things.
So that's a direct outlay. There's no ROI on that. There's nothing, nothing coming back. It's just an expense.
Nope, that's
like
an
electric bill.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's about $60,000 per year that we're spending on testing. On testing. That's right. Yeah. So with those two being about $200,000, that's about half of our budget. Wow. Yeah.
And then the food bank obviously is a huge contribution, being part of the Tarrant County area,
right?
Tarrant area.
And we are supported by the Granbury First United Methodist Church. Okay. So they pick up our food and they pay
for the any fees. Costs and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So that is a huge blessing for us.
And are all your doctors and staff volunteers, or are they paid, or is it a hybrid?
Hybrid.
Okay.
All of our doctors are volunteer.
Wow.
Right. And we have one paid part-time nurse practitioner, and then 2 volunteer nurse practitioners.
Wow.
1 paid part-time RN, 1 paid part-time medical assistant, and then we have multiple nurse volunteers and MA volunteers.
Wow.
And clerical volunteers.
How big is your team altogether?
So we have 11 paid, whether that's part-time, full-time.
And how many volunteers?
Oh gosh, that changes from week to week, especially at the food pantry. Dozens or hundreds? Dozens, yeah. We're not at the hundreds yet. I would love to be.
Yet. One day.
If anyone wants to volunteer, we will take you. If you're strong and can lift, you know, bags of onions and pallets of canned food, we need you at the to volunteer at the food pantry.
And if you like people.
And if you like people, yeah.
But I guess not every volunteer position is people facing, right?
That's correct. We do have some volunteers that don't want to deal with people, and they file charts. They help clean, they stack onions.
Stock shelves.
That's right, yeah.
Very good.
Organize supplies for us, yeah. We can accommodate anyone.
So if there was anything as the executive director of the organization that you would love to say to the public and just say, look, here's what you probably don't know, but you need to know, what would that be?
Oh, just like we were talking about earlier, Granbury has a very diverse population. You know, you've got the retired folks that are volunteering and donating, all the way to homeless people in our county. So I think just being cognizant of the fact that, you know, Granbury is not just a retirement community. We do have people struggling here. That is one of the most important parts of my job, is just spreading that awareness that we have a lot of people here that are struggling and that need help.
Very good. Kristin, I appreciate you coming by and spending some time with me today.
Yeah, Thank you. Thank you.
And I want to say to you, you know, if you're watching this program, it's probably because you've seen it on social media or you're watching it on OBBM in probably the faith category. Scripture tells us, go ye therefore and preach the gospel and then make disciples. And he says, start right here in Jerusalem and then Samaria and then Judea, the outer, go as far out. Charity starts in the home. That means taking good care of your family, and then your community, your neighborhood, and then as far out as you can go with that. For some people, that's global outreach. For some people, it's actually going past your mailbox and saying hello to your neighbor and being, I don't know, neighborly. But it's also about understanding that true religion is to serve the widows and the orphans. Sometimes getting out of your neighborhood means going to those places that you feel a little uncomfortable. Now, you don't have to be a missionary and go to Argentina or Cuba or Africa, but you might have to go to that other side of the tracks, the other side of the river, the other side of town. You may have to go see some people that you normally wouldn't hang out with. You may have to be human and loving and gracious and get out of your box and get out of your comfort zone in order to love people the way you were told to. I challenge you to do that. Kristin's a great example of that. She's dedicated this season of her life to making sure that people have the help that they need. And I challenge you to do the same. I appreciate you watching the show. I hope you'll share this with other people, especially those who might be in a position to help. You can go to Facebook, you can find Ruth's Place on there and find all the links you need to contribute, to donate, to volunteer. If you have to come to town to volunteer, come to town and volunteer. Be a part of it. Come to the casino night. Buy a table. Even if you can't come, buy a table and tell 15 other people, hey, y'all should go. Because people need to know that no matter where you are in life, especially in this most recent season, the last few years, inflation has been crazy and the season isn't getting any easier. It's going to get tougher. We need to be aware of that and we need to help where we can. So I challenge you to do that. I'm J Loren Norris with Storypower TV for Tell It Like It Is. Have a blessed day.